Imagine a day when the force of human error sent shockwaves through one of nature's most fragile environments. Picture a vast icy ocean suddenly cloaked in darkness, where shimmering blue gives way to a slick of black oil, a tragedy that would alter the course of environmental history forever. This is the story of the Exxon Valdez oil spill, the day nature fought back. Today, we embark on a journey through time, a journey that begins in the late 20th century, when the mighty Exxon Valdez, a symbol of industrial prowess, became an instrument of disaster. Over the next 30 minutes, we will explore the events that led to this environmental catastrophe, the immediate chaos in its wake, and the enduring impact it has had on our planet. In the 1980s, oil was the lifeblood of modern industry and transportation. The Exxon Valdez, a massive tanker operated by Exxon Shipping Company, was a testament to this era's engineering ambition. Constructed for long-haul journeys, the tanker was designed to transport vast quantities of crude oil across the globe. Yet, the very vessel that symbolized progress would soon become synonymous with one of the worst environmental disasters in history. At its peak, the global demand for oil was skyrocketing. With economies booming, the pressure to deliver energy supplies was immense. But behind the scenes, lax regulations, overextended shipping routes, and an over-reliance on technology would set the stage for an impending catastrophe. Historical records remind us that on March 24, 1989, a series of seemingly minor navigational errors converged on one fateful night in Prince William Sound, Alaska. As darkness fell, the Exxon Valdez veered off its charted course and ran aground on Bligh Reef. In that moment, millions of gallons of crude oil began to spill uncontrollably into the pristine waters of Alaska. Moment captured by history as both shocking and transformative, the oil spread like a living, breathing entity, an unstoppable force that clung to every surface in its path. Environmental historian 1990. Before we delve into the catastrophic aftermath, let's understand the context. At the time, maritime safety protocols were less stringent than they are today. With the world in the midst of an energy boom, safety measures were often pushed aside in favor of meeting the relentless pace of commerce. The Exxon Valdez was not the first to encounter rough seas or navigational hazards, but on that fateful night, a perfect storm of errors and oversights resulted in an environmental calamity that would force governments and corporations alike to rethink the future. As the Exxon Valdez struck Bligh Reef, the impact was immediate and devastating. The tanker's hull was breached, and an estimated 11 million gallons of crude oil began to seep into the cold, dark waters of Prince William Sound. In a matter of hours, a seemingly infinite black tide was unleashed upon the ecosystem. Eyewitnesses recall the surreal nature of that night. Local fishermen, whose lives depended on the bounty of the sea, were met with a nightmare unfolding before their eyes. Instead of the familiar dance of sunlight on water, they witnessed an encroaching wall of oil, a slick so vast and impenetrable that it seemed to swallow the horizon. I remember the sky turning a murky shade of sorrow as the oil crept over the waves. It was as if nature itself was mourning. Local fishermen, interview 1990. Within minutes of the impact, emergency response teams were mobilized. However, the response was hampered by the sheer scale of the disaster. With remote locations, icy conditions, and an ever-spreading slick, even the most experienced teams were challenged by the enormity of the task. The initial cleanup efforts were chaotic. Workers in protective gear and hastily assembled boats battled against time and tide, trying desperately to contain the spread. But the nature of oil is relentless. It seeps into every crevice, coats shorelines, and clings to the feathers of seabirds and fur of marine mammals. Scientists later described the incident as a biological earthquake, a term that captures the rapid, violent disruption of an ecosystem imbalance. The cold, nutrient-rich waters of Prince William Sound were suddenly transformed into a toxic soup, where even the smallest organisms were not spared. The spill also exposed a stark reality. The technological marvels of the modern age could, at times, turn against us. Despite advanced navigation systems, human error and system failures converged to create an ecological disaster of unprecedented proportions. In the immediate aftermath of the spill, the true cost of the disaster began to reveal itself. Not only did the oil devastate marine life, but it also inflicted severe damage on local communities. Coastal villages, dependent on fishing and tourism, suddenly found themselves facing an uncertain future. The pristine environment that had sustained them for generations was now marred by an oily blight. Marine biologists discovered that thousands of seabirds, once symbols of the wild Alaskan landscape, were found coated in oil, their ability to fly and hunt compromised. Sea otters, seals, and even larger mammals like whales were not spared, their once vibrant ecosystems rendered toxic and inhospitable. The tragedy of Exxon Valdez was not just in the loss of life, it was in the loss of balance, a disruption so profound that recovery became a decades-long struggle. Environmental Policy Analyst, 1991. The scale of the disaster prompted a global outcry. Environmentalists, scientists, and concerned citizens demanded accountability and swift action. Emergency cleanup operations, though heroic, were met with harsh natural conditions, freezing temperatures, turbulent tides, and remote locations that hampered logistical support. Cleanup crews worked day and night, using everything from chemical dispersants to physical barriers in an attempt to contain the spread. Yet, as oil penetrated deeper into the ecosystem, it became clear that the damage was not just immediate, but would persist for years to come. The spill would haunt the region, its legacy etched into the very fabric of the coastal environment. Beyond the physical damage, the Exxon Valdez disaster ignited a profound conversation about industrial accountability and environmental stewardship. The tragedy became a catalyst for change, prompting a reevaluation of maritime regulations and the safety measures in place to protect our planet. In the years that followed, government agencies and private entities alike would be forced to confront the reality that progress, when unchecked, can exact a steep toll on nature. As time marched on, the scars left by the Exxon Valdez spill became a stark reminder of our vulnerability. Decades later, researchers continue to study the area, documenting the slow, painstaking recovery of ecosystems that were once devastated by oil. What emerged from the darkness was not only a story of loss, but also one of resiliency, a testament to nature's ability to heal, albeit over a prolonged period. Scientists have noted that some species manage to adapt, their genetic makeup bearing the marks of an evolutionary struggle to survive in contaminated waters. Meanwhile, policymakers around the world took heed of the disaster, leading to sweeping reforms in maritime safety and environmental regulations. The Oil Pollution Act of 1990, for instance, was enacted in direct response to Exxon Valdez, marking a new era of accountability for oil companies and stricter protocols for spill prevention and response. The Exxon Valdez spill forced a global reckoning. It wasn't merely a tragedy, but a turning point that reshaped environmental policies for future generations. U.S. Government Report 1990. Today, the legacy of Exxon Valdez serves as both a cautionary tale and a beacon of hope. The disaster spurred international cooperation in environmental protection and set a precedent for rapid response in the face of ecological emergencies. The extensive research conducted in the aftermath of the spill has provided invaluable insights into the resilience of nature, guiding restoration efforts that continue to this day. However, as we reflect on the past, we are reminded that the battle for our environment is ongoing. The lessons of Exxon Valdez resonate not only in the policies that were born from tragedy, but also in the hearts of communities determined to protect the natural world. It is a call to action, a reminder that every decision, every regulation, and every technological advance carries with it the potential to either safeguard or jeopardize our future. Exxon Valdez oil spill stands as a powerful symbol of both human fallibility and nature's extraordinary capacity for recovery. As we look back on that fateful day, we are compelled to ask ourselves, what can we learn from this tragedy? How can we ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated in the future? Every ripple in the ocean, every feather of a seabird, and every tree along the coast tells a story of loss, resilience, and hope. The legacy of Exxon Valdez reminds us that While industrial progress is essential, it must always be balanced with a deep respect for the environment that sustains us. Today, we invite you to join us in this ongoing conversation. Share your thoughts, spread awareness, and take part in the movement for a cleaner, safer planet. If you found this journey both informative and inspiring, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Let's work together to ensure that history's lessons pave the way for a brighter future. Before we close, remember, every action counts. Whether it's supporting environmental policies, reducing waste, or simply staying informed, you can be a part of the change. Our planet is resilient, but only if we treat it with the care it deserves. Thank you for watching. And as the echoes of Exxon Valdez remind us, let our legacy be one of learning and protection, because when nature fights back, we must be ready to listen.